little stereo here. There we go. For guests and visitors, my name is Steve Parley, club president, and I'd like to welcome you all to the 27th meeting, the 47th year. Can you believe it? 27 of the Dublin Worthington Rotary Club. And I'd like to remind everybody that we are in Worthington, Ohio, and the city does have a mask mandate in place. So if you are not eating, I would encourage you to keep your mask on as much as possible. Thank you. Okay, today's invocation and pledge of allegiance will be offered by Jerry Katz.
Standing in for somebody, so don't get too excited. I haven't taken over the invocation committee or anything like that. So if you bow your heads, please, in an attitude of prayer. It is to a higher power that we pray today, to thank you for our blessings and the blessings that you give others. We marvel over our world and the change of seasons. As we experience the cold weather right now, let us have a warm heart. Warm to those we know and love, and to those we don't know, but need and want our help. Let us help because we can. So give us wisdom to know what to do, energy to do the job, and the resources to do it right. And above all, may we do it all in love for others. This is the end of the prayer and the beginning of service. So we all say, Amen. You guys are doing real well. Thank you so much. It's taken me only 3 years to get you in unison there. And someday I'll get you into the one clap as well. So
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go Bucks.
Thank you, Jerry. Much appreciated.
Well, thank you.
Okay, President-elect Teresa.
Hello, welcome everybody. I think, Tom, you have a guest?
Yes, my son, Andy Rice.
Oh, Andy. Guest here will be introduced as speakers later.
Fantastic.
I don't think we have any guests on Zoom or do we?
Nope,
Okay, thank you.
we're good. Got a healthy bunch on Zoom today. My goodness. All right. Next up is our virtual sergeant, right? Alan Grossman. You're on mute.
Well, I am on mute, and I guess I didn't get the memo that that I was sergeant today, but you know, I can probably come up with something. Who's that? Phil walking around with the bucket there?
Well, I will, but Darnell wants to.
Oh, I don't think that's fair. Phil, that ought to be worth $1 just for shrieking your responsibility.
Thank you.
Let's start off then with happy dollars. Who's happy today? Looks like you're gonna have to tell me who that is because I can't really see.
Happy dollars. My youngest granddaughter, who has spent 15 years learning Spanish in the North Carolina school system, is heading to Seville, Spain tomorrow, so she can see if she can understand Spanish.
That's all Spanish to me. Who's next? Peggy?
Yeah, Glenn and I are just happy that we struggled through COVID without any lasting effects.
Good.
Oh.
Fantastic.
Good. That's good news for sure. Who else? Who else is happy out there today?
Okay, I'll be happy. I'm going to Nashville tomorrow.
That's a good place. And next,
My daughter's coming.
looks like Alan.
Alan Zink, I
Alan
just
Zink's
wanna-
got something. Yeah,
I'm just happy to be here in the sunshine. Thank you.
yeah.
I'm accumulating notes on the dollars I owe.
So is Jennifer.
Well, I'm happy about that.
Anybody else in there? Anybody else in the room with a happy dollar? All right.
You know,
How about
hey,
on
I'm
Zoom
I'm
land?
happy that Darnell Perkins sent us the link to the Martin Luther King presentation. Meant to send you a note, Darnell, thanking you. I was particularly taken by the young fourth grader from Colonial Hills and his testimony on spreading love rather than hate.
No,
That's worth being happy about, John. Thank you. Joe, you've got your hand raised. Does that mean you're happy?
It means I'm happy. And first of all, I think everybody owes $1 because they should be happy my camera isn't working today. And
You're right.
so I hope, Alan, that helps fill the bucket for you. But I'm yet more happy than you will ever be that today is my 20th wedding anniversary. So they said it could never be done. But,
Congratulations, Joe. Good work.
So Joe can't, so we can't see your pajamas on, is that it?
I am at my office fully attired properly for the workday. I wish you could see me because now I've been defamed.
Okay, anybody else have a happy dollar in Zoom land or otherwise? Well, that said, to Joe's point, the let's see, 6 of y'all that can't have your cameras on for some reason or another, either because you don't have a camera or you don't want us to see what you look like right now, are welcome to throw in a buck virtually. Jennifer, please take note. And Mr. Zink, you know, we have had a ton of snow here and you're missing out on all of that. And I think that all by itself is worth $1. I'm sure of it. You can't talk until you want, there you go.
I resembled that.
Yes, you
But-
do.
You know, it's difficult here, having to clear away some of the old plants that are dying and put in new flowers and things like that. So I'll
Yeah.
put in the $1.
Thank you. We appreciate that. The sunshine is hard to deal with. Make sure you wear your sunscreen and your hat, of course. So we'll have to go to the old standby, seeing as how I didn't get my sergeant memo. And of course, if you're not wearing your Rotary pin, even I have one here. See, it's there for everybody. So if you can't be bothered to put your Rotary pin, which I know we gave you when you joined the club, please, I guess, Darnell, you're stuck with the pot. Just wander around and grab the requisite dollars. And by the same token, if you couldn't stop at the box and put on your name tag, look at you go, John. Good job. If you can't stop at the box and pick up your name tag, please do that. Who has registered for the bowling tournament, the Super Bowling tournament that's coming up here? I see one. If you haven't registered for that, either in the capacity of helping us or bowling, please add $1 to Darnell's pot there. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Was anybody away this past weekend when the storm came on, Sunday, Monday? Anybody miss it? Well, Alan, I've already taken care of you. Paul, you missed it? Okay, so that's a virtual $1. If you missed the storm that caused me to have to come home from New York a day early, then please toss in $1. And with that, I guess I'll let you all go. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alan.
I can't think of another virtual sergeant we have, but you did an excellent job. So thank you.
My pleasure. 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah,
Making history every day.
that's right. All righty. Okay, announcements. Anybody with announcements, please make your way up here.
Up there or right here?
Whatever, just talk loudly.
So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that we have a special meeting next Wednesday. It's going to be held at the Dublin Worthington Rec Center. The theme is Empowering Girls, which goes along with the International Rotary theme of Shakar Mehta. And we have a very large spread out room. I think we have 30 registered already. Has anybody gotten an email yet in this club for this event?
I do.
Okay, so I hear a lot of people didn't. I will send out the email again that has all the links to register. We need to have your registration in by Friday if you plan to attend in person, because we need a lunch head count and there's varieties that you need to pick. So look for that email coming later today. Thank you.
Good. And this is actually kind of a special event or something? I mean,
It
it's
is
a
a special
collaboration.
Yep.
with
So
three other clubs.
our speaker is super dynamic, and we're catering with a company called Freedom a la carte, which if you're not familiar, it's a getting women out of sex trafficking and into employable careers through food.
It's gonna be great. Other announcements, Darnell?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick announcement about Super Bowl Saturday, which is the 5th of February. Again, I want to thank our sponsors, especially our major sponsors. And that would be the Sheddinger Funeral Home, Camp Taylor, Realtors, and LCNB Bank. And also, I want to thank the 24 of you who are lane sponsors. Really appreciate that. Now the emphasis needs to be on getting bowlers on the lane. And I was just asked today, like, well, what about the COVID protocol? Well, you have to have masks coming in, walking around. You don't have to have masks to bowl. And there are partitions between the lanes.
How many teams do we have? Do you know?
I mean, we have 30 lanes that we can fill. I think we have 7 teams.
Okay. All right.
Do you have to have any bowling skills?
About as much as you have.
I think you just have to stay on 2 feet the whole time, right? Isn't that the?
There's bumpers for you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Darnell, can you register individually? Will there be teams made up when you're there, or do you have to be part of the team in order to bowl?
No, you don't have to be part of the team. In the bowl, so you can register individually. Okay.
And you don't have to be a Rotarian either, do you?
No, you do not have to be a Rotary. Very good. Any other questions? See you there on the 5th.
Thank you, Darnell. Any other announcements? I feel like I'm missing something. There's a board meeting tomorrow. If you'd like to come, it's gonna be jam-packed. We're gonna move quick. Any club members, welcome. So if you would like to come, reach out to me. I'll send you the link. It'll be on Zoom. And okay, with that, I think we're ready for our program. Mr. Dave Hansen.
Thank you very much, Steve. We're very fortunate today to have Jake Diebler with us. Jake is an assistant coach, as you all know, with the Ohio State Buckeyes. He was born and grew up near Fostoria, and he and his brother played high school, I guess, the basketball for their father, who coached at Fostoria High School. But I think in Jake's senior year, they moved to Upper Sandusky, where he played for that basketball team. In fact, I think he led it to the state championship that year. He then played his college basketball at Valparaiso University, where his teams competed in the NIT and NCAA tournaments in his junior and senior years. Also, especially for me of note, he traveled to Africa under Athletes in Action at the end of his junior year. That I thought was a very special thing to do. He has had considerable coaching experience, first at Valparaiso, then at OSU under Mata, and then at Vanderbilt prior to joining Chris Holtman in 2019. He often cites the impact that coaches that he has known, including his father in high school, Homer Jew at Valparaiso, and Thad Mata have had on his life. And he has articulated a personal goal of similarly impacting players that he coaches. I'd like to recognize that we have 2 former outstanding basketball players here with us today, namely Ken Carey and Todd Whiteman. And I went to them and asked if they would like to introduce Jake, and they said no, that it was my responsibility. So in any case, please join me in welcoming Jake here too.
Yes, I'm Jake Diebler, not to be confused with John Diebler, that I'm sure most of you probably remember playing here at Ohio State, but
Jake, would you mind using the microphone?
this one right here?
Yeah, just clip it
No
on.
problem.
Appreciate it.
Can everybody hear me virtually? That's better. But yeah, it's an honor to be here. And when Dave reached out to our staff, Coach Holtman, that I learned this last week, how much the head coach really has to do on a daily basis, where I had to fill in for him for a game, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. But he obviously wanted to make sure you guys knew he would have loved to have been here. He's dealing with some media responsibilities currently right now. So I was fortunate enough to be able to fill in. So thanks, Dave, for inviting us. But you know, it certainly is an honor to be here. I want to start a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, how I got here. Then I want to talk about our program in general. As Dave mentioned, my father's coached high school basketball in Ohio for over 40 years, is still currently coaching high school basketball. We've tried to get him retired about 5 different times. And we're hoping soon he will give it up for good. But I grew up in the gym from the time I was able to walk. I was around basketball. I was a manager for my dad all the way through when I started playing for him. And playing for your dad, playing with your brother, being able to reach the pinnacle of high school basketball here in Ohio at the state championship, that was probably the most memorable night of my life as a basketball player. But went to college, was fortunate enough to get a full ride to Valpo. I'll rewind a little bit. I actually committed to go to West Point my junior year of high school. I went on a visit there, fell in love with the campus, loved this idea of serving our country. Unfortunately, after going through all the different things that you have to go through to get accepted there, I failed the physical. I was deemed medically unable to serve in the Army. As an 18-year-old kid, that was hard to understand that I could go out and play college basketball, but couldn't serve in the Army. But after Christmas, my senior year, and I got a letter in the mail that said I was disqualified medically. Started scrambling. No one in our family had ever been recruited at a Division I level. My brother was starting to get some recruitment. Valparaiso was recruiting him. You know, by the grace of God, 2 weeks before I got that letter in the mail, their coach told my father, "Hey, if anything, if for some reason things don't work out at West Point, we'd love to have Jake." And so we got that letter in the mail. Within that next week, we drove on an off day to Valpo, said, "Will you still take him?" And that's how I ended up there. So I had a unique recruitment. Ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. Part of why I coach is because the most influential people in my life have been coaches. Even dating back to when I was growing up in middle school and elementary, the coaches always had a huge influence on me. Certainly my father is at the top of that list, but that got taken to another level when I went to college. I went to college not as a believer, got saved within the first 3 years of college, and the coaching staff there was a huge influence on me in that area of my life. And it was about that time I was voted a captain as a sophomore after never playing. I played, I think, a total of like 70 minutes as a freshman, which was an extremely humbling experience. Got voted as a captain, got voted to be a captain as a sophomore. And that kind of sparked in me something more about how basketball could influence people. And so decided to go into coaching. Coach Homer Drew, who's in the College Basketball Hall of Fame, was my head coach. It's the first guy I worked for my first 2 years. And he was kind enough to keep me on staff. Then went on to work for his son, Bryce Drew, who took over at Valpo. So I was there for 4 years. I was an assistant coach, first opportunity as assistant coach at 24 years old to work for Bryce. Then I did what a lot of people viewed as a step backwards. I actually went from being an assistant coach to taking a video coordinator job here at Ohio State under Thad Matta. Certainly, you know, my brother had an unbelievable experience at Ohio State. Growing up in Northwest Ohio, you understood like what that Block O, what the power of being a Buckeye meant. I got to witness that and you know, our family got to witness that because of John. So the opportunity to come back home and then work for someone like Thad, even though on paper it could have been viewed as a step backwards professionally, I had to take that opportunity. And that was an unbelievable experience. I was telling Dave, people say like, well, what does a video coordinator do? My job was to prepare film for the assistant coaches, but the way Thad set up his staff, it was unique. I actually got to sit and watch film with Thad every day. some days it's like 2 hours. It's just he and I watching film in the locker room. And so I always joke, I got a master's degree in basketball from Thad Matta for 3 years. Got to just sit down and talk through game planning, talk through practice planning, talk through scouting, and just hear him talk through the flow of a game, hear him talk through, what he sees offensively and defensively. And that was obviously very beneficial for my career. And then after that, went to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt moving south for a Midwestern guy, I guess kind of south. It's not that far south, but moving to the SEC was different. It was a leap of faith for my family. When Bryce offered me the job to go be an assistant at Vanderbilt, he offered me that job on I think it was a Friday. I asked my wife to marry me on Saturday, and I left on Sunday. So that was a wild time for our family. My wife is actually a graduate from Ohio State. She's went to Worthington Kilbourne High School. So she was willing to leave and go with me down to Nashville. We were there for 3 years. Probably some of the most beneficial years for me professionally, because we had success. We overachieved our first year, underachieved our next 2 years, recruited the highest rated recruiting class in the history of the school, and had one of the worst years that following year. Don't ever hope to do that again, but it was a unique experience, certainly, and learned a lot and grew through that, and actually got fired. Our staff got fired. First time I'd ever been fired in my career. But God works in mysterious ways. Somehow I was able to go from being fired to getting hired at rehired at my dream school, working for, Coach Holtman, who, as I transition to talk a little bit of our program now, is, in my opinion, one of the most very elite coaches in college basketball. And I say that because he has a combination of not only being able to connect with our players at such a high level, on a personal level. He spends time with them, quality time, getting to know them, getting to know how they tick, what motivates them, what they enjoy outside of the arena. But he's also really, really good, one of the best in the country from an X's and O's standpoint. And, his ability to communicate with our guys, his ability to go out and execute a game plan, and his instincts in the flow of the game, I think put him in very rare air in the industry of college basketball coaches. So it's been a blessing for me to work for him. I have learned a lot in the last 2 years, and now going on year 3 here. And his probably the most beneficial thing for me in my career is being able to listen to how he speaks to our team. He has perfect timing on what to say, when to say it, what message our guys need to hear. Those of you that have watched us play a lot, you see our guys play hard. We have a connected group. And quite honestly, when I had to fill in, and I've said this publicly, and I mean this, there's not a better program equipped to withstand your head coach being out for a moment. It's not a better program equipped in the country than ours. And Coach Holtman deserves the credit for that, because of the culture that he's been able to build here at Ohio State, and the program that he's been able to build, and the leaders that he's been able to develop on our team with some of our upperclassmen. So I want to give you some numbers here real quick, and then ask questions. Does anybody have any questions starting there before I go into a few numbers here? But if you do any throughout, don't hesitate to ask.
I have a question. What
Yeah.
do you mean by it was built, like, to be able to take over? Like, what are some of the things that he did to give you the optimal opportunity to succeed?
Yeah. So one, I think he's constantly forcing us as staff members to grow. He's pushing us as assistant coaches, grooming us to potentially be head coaches. I think that first and foremost. Secondly, the veterans that we've been able to grow in our program, the Kyle Youngs, the Justin R's, the EJ Liddells, and even when you add a guy like Jamari Wheeler, who's only been here for less than a year, but is a veteran in college basketball, coach empowers them at a high level. And so their investment in our program is critical for the sustained success that we've had. But also in a moment like that, when you have some adversity and you're missing your voice, it's not completely foreign for our guys because they have a voice in our program already. So I think that, and then the pillars of our program, the toughness we talk about, the accountability, the character, all of those things, the integrity, those things support us in times of adversity. And I think this was a time of adversity. So when I say we were built for this, that's what I mean. I think though we were able to lean on things, we didn't have to do or become something to go out and win a game without our head coach. We were already equipped to do that. We didn't have to change who we were. Yeah. I want to give you some numbers real quick, because I think this is revealing. This is some of the things that Coach Holtman and our staff have been able to do since he's been here. So since Coach has been at Ohio State, there's been 4 high major teams in the country that have had 20 or more wins every year. 4 teams. That's Ohio State, Creighton, Oregon, and Kansas. We've sent 3 players in the NBA. We've been ranked in the top 15 every single year that Coach Holtman's been here. And we have 10 top 10 wins in the span of now 4.5 years. On top of that, this is what I think makes it really special. Every 4-year player that's come through here has graduated, and that, to Coach's credit, every 4-year player that's ever played for him has graduated, but specifically here at Ohio State. And every player who has left our program early, who hasn't finished their degree, is currently playing professionally and has the option. Ohio State will pay for them to come back and finish their degree. So that's something that's really, really important to us. And we've been here now 9 semesters. 8 of those 9 semesters, the average team GPA has been above a 3.0. And that's something that I think we're probably most proud of. I don't want to speak for Coach, but I know we talk about this as a staff. He invests a lot of time and resources from our staff into the academic part of our guys' lives. But to have the on-court success and that type of academic success, 8 out of 9 semesters, an average GPA above 3.0, that to me, I think speaks volumes about that culture that we have. Speaks volumes about the type of person and leader that Coach is. And it's something that we're really, really proud of. I don't know, haven't heard of anybody else in the country who's had the same level of success on the court that we've had with that same level of academic success. So we're really proud of that. On to this year, we're obviously in unique times. Last year was certainly difficult not having fans. This year, right now, fans can't eat when they come to our games. It's just we are in unique times, but I think we've as a program have embraced the situation that we're in. We leaned into last year, the COVID year. We've done everything we can. We have unbelievable support from the university from a medical standpoint to give our guys and equip our guys to be the healthiest they can be, to give us the best chance to have as many guys as we could possibly have on game days. And it's again, I can't speak enough about Coach's leadership and through these waters. We've probably our most complete team since Coach has been here. We didn't get to play in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, last year we didn't have the type of NCAA tournament that we expect to have. This year, we're excited about this team as this year continues to grow, and as we kind of come back from our own little setback there around Christmas. Those of you who followed, we were shut down, missed 3 games. It's part of why we played the game we played last night, just to get another game in there for our guys. But it's very unique times in college basketball. There's a lot happening. The landscape of college basketball is changing. You've probably heard things like NIL, transfer portal. These are all like the whole foundation of college basketball is being rewritten currently. And so we're excited to see kind of what happens next. But there's no better place to be with those changes coming down than Ohio State. So any questions? Yes.
Coach, first, I'm proud to say that I'm a 45+ year ticket holder and I don't miss many games.
Thank you.
So I go back to Fred Taylor. But one thing that I see in other Big Ten schools, and I don't see at Ohio State, is we can't seem to get a 7'2" or a 7'1" or even a 7-footer. Like Illinois has 2 or 3 and Purdue has.
Purdue's hogging all of them.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we've got a great academic program. We got great stats. Why can't we get a solid 7-footer that can knock some people around in there?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I do think, you know, you look at the stretch, FAD had basically 3 top 10 players in the country in back-to-back classes. Jared would have started with Costa Koufis, BJ Mullins, Jared Solinger. All 3 of those guys are from Ohio. And so I think there's certainly part of it is, you know, our region, some of it could be regionally recruiting, because I still think the foundation of our roster is going to be regionally based. I think you see that all over the country. I do believe, you know, we feel really good about a guy like Zed Key, who isn't 7 feet, but, you know, felt like we evaluated his ability to play against guys what he lacks in height, he makes up with in length, and he makes up with in physicality. And we're really excited about the young man we're going to be having coming in next year, who's 6'11", 7 foot, really athletic. So we're aware that in this league you have to have size. There's no question about it. Caleb Blessing from Ohio here was a really good player. Again, made up, you know, he was 6'9", but had a 6'4" wingspan. So we're constantly evaluating that. There's no question in our league, you have to have size. You have to. Our league, more than probably any other league in the country. So we're continually evaluating that. Really excited about Zed as he continues to grow. He's had a really good year as a sophomore, shown great progression freshman to sophomore year. And we're excited about the young man coming in next year, Felix Opara too. Yeah, but that's fair. That is absolutely fair.
Well, you have a veteran team this year. Aren't you going to lose about 2/3 of your scholarship players come graduation or end of the season? So what happens next year?
Yeah, it's a little more stressful than you know, when you got a guy like EJ Liddell or Kyle Young who's very pro. Absolutely, we're going to have our roster is going to look different next year, and I think that can be exciting, certainly be exciting. But we have to address, because we're losing so many veterans and experience is so valuable in college basketball. We have to address that with the transfer portal this spring. Some of that. We have a large freshman class coming in. Really excited about the freshman class. New ESPN rankings came out today. We have 4 players in the top 60 in the country. So really, really excited about this group. But there's no question we got to be aggressive this spring in the transfer portal and you know, fill some of this void of experience that we're going to be losing significant minute guys. You know, we got to fill that void with some older guys in the portal for sure. The recruiting has changed so much in the last probably 5 years. Football is just now starting to experience the transfer portal, and everybody's like, you know, what has happened? This has been the case in college basketball for the last 5-10 years. There's been, you know, a large number of transfers, and I think John, correct me if I'm wrong, John's on our staff too. I should have introduced him from the beginning. He's here. I think it was over 1,800 transfers last year in college basketball. 1,800. So you have to now, you have to recruit that. It's just such a huge part of recruiting.
Does this mean you have a one and done attitude?
Due to the new rules, it used to be the loophole with having older guys for only 1 year was this graduation rule. If you graduated from an institution, you could come to a new institution, not have to sit out, as long as they had a degree that the other school didn't offer. And as you can imagine, that got manipulated and twisted in ways throughout the country. So the NCAA just kind of removed these stipulations around transferring, and now everybody gets to transfer once without penalty. So you're seeing more underclassmen transfer who will then have more years available at their new school. But like Jamari Wheeler, for example, you know, he's only going to be with us this year. And so we're constantly trying to evaluate as we put together a roster, a balance of, you know, we don't, our philosophy is we want guys to be in our program, but we understand too that the landscape has changed and we have to, there's certainly potential to have guys who are only going to be in your program for a year, whether that's a really, really talented freshman or a really talented transfer. But we'll always have a balance of high school freshmen, guys who are going to be in your program for multiple years, and then transfers. And now with the new rules, hopefully some transfers who will be in your program for multiple years, like a Justice Suing, who you know, who transferred, had to sit out and things. So yeah, we're going to be aggressive this spring, but we got to certainly find a balance of age and youth.
Will you be able, are coaches allowed to recruit in the portal, or does the student have to go into the portal before a coach can recruit it? I mean, you can't go and, I'm asking the question. Can you go and recruit, say, the 3 7-footers that are playing for Purdue? One of those guys is maybe getting 8 minutes a game. Say, hey, why don't you come to Ohio State and start?
Yeah, no, you can't. Can't do that. Our rules are once a young man enters the transfer portal, we're allowed to start communicating with him. Up until that point, any communication that exists is called tampering, and there's penalties for that. Yeah, penalties for that.
I think we have a question on Zoom. Alan, do you have a question? Get your hand up. Okay, never mind.
Yes.
Congratulations, first of all, on being the only undefeated Tech president. How is the health of staff and justice? Will we see one or both actions?
Yeah, we're optimistic that both will be able to play at some point this year. That COVID pause certainly impacted kind of their progress, but we feel like everything's trending towards that direction. Now, obviously, when that is or how much, or those are still things that are too early to tell. But both guys are now starting to do more on the court, so we're certainly optimistic there.
Do you have any youth camps or anything like that for children? Do you sponsor anything like that?
Yeah, we do. We actually host camps in our facilities. Those, we haven't been able to do that for a couple of years now with COVID, but hopefully this summer we'll be able to open that back up. Yeah, we're hopeful of that. We haven't got final word on that yet.
What's the age?
I think the youngest is maybe 5 or 6. And I think we go up to like usually freshmen, sophomores, high school. What team camps for high school teams? Yeah.
Her grandson, he's 9, but he plays up. And last week they won 22-14. He made 20 of the points.
Sounds like we need to start recruiting them.
Is he over 5 feet?
Yes, sir.
Well, yeah, speaking of recruiting, have you been involved in the recruiting process? And if so, can you give us some insights as to how that actually works?
Yeah, one of the main responsibilities that I have is recruiting. So we kind of divvy up. We run a little bit of a football style staff. We have an offensive and defensive coordinator. I'm our defensive coordinator on the nights like last night. Some of those nights I was coach. Basketball is certainly different because you don't have, obviously guys have to play both offense and defense. So it's a much more collaborative effort, and a lot more goes into the dynamics are certainly different. But yeah, player development, defensive coordinator, and recruiting, those are my main responsibilities. And recruiting young men to Ohio State and recruiting young men to play for Coach Holtman is it's great. This place, with everything that's happening, NIL, the brand that is Ohio State, the stage that we play on, the level of games we play in, our strength of schedule is one of the best in the country every year. Like, it's an attractive situation. It's an attractive situation, and Coach Holtman has a reputation nationally that kids want to play for. So our job is, we want to reach out. Once we're allowed to reach out and communicate with kids June 15th, prior to the start of their junior year. Anything before that, they have to call us. We can't call them. So once we start that process, begin building relationships over the phone, work on getting guys to campus. Kids are now allowed to visit. You get 5 official visits as a junior in high school and 5 official visits as a senior in high school, and you can visit the same place twice, if once per year. So we're constantly, and we're restricted on the amount of days we get to go out recruiting. We're restricted on the number of visits we can bring in. So we're constantly working together as a staff, prioritizing, okay, where do we spend our time? Where do we spend our days? But in general, what I think we've been able to do a really good job of is relationship building and identifying fit. There's certainly something to be said for accumulating talent. You have to have talented players without question, but we also want those talented pieces to fit together. And, you only figure that out through building relationships and really evaluating guys' games. Nowadays, we can watch almost any game they play online, streamed, or, however, you see highlight, coaches send a film, and then we go out and watch, we travel all over the country. This freshman class we have coming in, we have a young man from Atlanta, a young man from Ohio, we have a young man from Florida, we have a young man from Buffalo, New York, who went to high school out in Utah, and we have a young man from Africa who goes to high school in Missouri. So we got guys from all over, and we've traveled all over to evaluate and make sure we have the right pieces coming. So recruiting is a lot, relationship building. It's great to have Ohio State to show. And when you bring kids here and they go to a football or basketball game and they see the power and the passion of Buckeye Nation, like that is powerful. It is powerful. And then you have a top 20 public university in the country to add to that. Then you play in the best basketball conference in the country. So those are constant things that we're reminding guys and talking about as we build that relationship to get to know him and his family and his coach and his AAU coach and his trainer. Like there's a lot of, I joke with my wife, it's like being in a relationship with like 35 or 40, 16, 17-year-old kids. Like you're constant communication, you're texting, you're calling, you're talking to some kids, you're talking to 4 or 5 or 6 people that are within the circle of that kid. Some kids it's 2 or 3. So you can imagine how I spend a lot of my time is on the phone. But it's good. I love recruiting. I love the competitiveness of it. I love the relationship building aspect of it. I like getting to know kids, and a big part of that is because I'm passionate about what we have here. I think we have something really special here, and we want to make sure we're bringing the right guys to be a part of that. Yes.
It was nice to Justin did 3 last night.
Yeah.
What extra steps do you do with, when you have a player like that who is a good shooter, a really good shooter, who's struggling as much as he has been?
Yeah. So much of that is the mind. There's a lot of that is, and Justin's established himself as one of the very best shooters in the country. So certainly the standard that he's held to from a percentage and a volume, it's high. But I think some of it could be watching old clips of him, like visualizing success is important. Coach is great about giving our guys confidence. And the other part is just old-fashioned hard work, just getting in the gym, kind of fine-tuning that. And that's something that Justin works really, really hard. I think a little bit of that can be mental right now, but hopefully it's a matter of time before he bursts through that wall. We're confident in that. And certainly the value that he brings is even though he struggled, he's not getting guarded less. Like he creates so much space on the court for other guys because teams they don't leave him at all. So that's why you still see him out there. That's what, and because he's liable to hit 3 or 4 at any given moment now. So we got, there's no question in our mind. It's a matter of time before he makes it rain out there a little bit. Yes, sir.
I see a lot of high school basketball, and I'm curious if you have any underclass recruiting targets in the Columbus area.
Say that last part again.
Do you have
Underclass.
any underclass recruiting targets in the Columbus area?
Yeah.
If you're allowed to address that.
Yeah, we're not allowed to talk specifically about recruits unless they've signed with us. So that's why you've heard me kind of talk more specifically about our incoming class next year. But we will always recruit Ohio hard. We will always do that. Ohio is important to us. So we're always mindful of multiple classes, juniors, sophomores, freshmen. We're mindful of multiple classes in Ohio and constantly monitoring that.
We have one online. John, do you have a question?
Yes. Hey, Coach, did your wife play basketball at Worthington Kilbourne? And when did she graduate? And what's her maiden name?
What's her phone number?
Maiden name is Elwood. She did not play basketball. Her father's Todd Elwood. She had a few brothers. I don't know if anybody around here knows that name, but yeah, Jordan is her name. She ran track and cheered at Kilbourne. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
She's 5'9" though. Now I have 2 daughters. One of them is, she's tough as nails already, and she likes it a lot. My youngest one, my daughters are under 4 and under 2. My youngest one is she just knows what a basketball is right now. Basketball and Brutus, that's all we talk about in our family. Yes.
Is it harder to recruit the student or the parent?
Great question. Both. I think the priorities between the student athlete and the parent, usually the top 5 priority or top 3 priorities are the same, but what's number 1 versus what's number 4 between mom and the kid, that tends to differ a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Is it mom versus dad usually?
I don't know if it's versus, but I think there's certainly been situations for us where, one parent has a preference and another parent has a preference. Part of our job in recruiting is figuring out who's got the most influence. And I think we're constantly, like, my personal philosophy is, you want to try and build like a fence around a kid. And so if I come in contact with someone who has any influence or any voice with a recruit, I want to have conversations with him. Now, I might not be able to convince him that Ohio State is the best, but I better at least be able to convince him that it's okay if that young man wants to go to Ohio State. And so you're constantly trying to control this narrative around guys. And you don't always have everybody pro Ohio State, but you got to make sure they're not against you, because people can, that's what can hurt you. So yeah, moms, you see these things in football on TV sometimes where like a kid chooses a school, like mom's all upset, but dad's really excited. I haven't come across that yet. That might be a little bit of a red flag, I guess, in the process, but no, their parents are certainly, we try to recruit high character kids along with talented basketball players. We have some amazing families within our program. Those conversations with families, we don't stop those when a kid comes on campus. Like, I still talk to some parents, maybe not as frequently as I did, but we still have conversations with the parents of the guys on our team. So there's those relationships are there, and it's important. It's important for sure. But sometimes mom can be a little more influential sometimes. Sometimes dad can be sometimes dad really is excited about the basketball presentation. Sometimes mom's a little more excited about the academic presentation. You know, it varies, and sometimes it's vice versa. So, yeah. Yes.
With respect to NIL, are you allowed to share with us how many players on the team have NILs agreements? Because I have not seen anything from the basketball program, with the exception maybe Zed Key having some connection with one of the other teams. Is there, can you share with us what that is?
Yeah, this is obviously brand new, and I think the NCAA is currently meeting this week about some potential rule changes in this space just to help facilitate some of this stuff. But our guys have actually done something really unique this week. They released a merchandise line that the whole team splits evenly. So really, I thought that was really cool. All of it is driven by them. We're not allowed to facilitate deals. We're not allowed to influence people to do this. We support our guys maximizing their opportunities in this space. Some guys are more active than others. Zed Key's a guy, he's been very active in the space. We have guys on our roster who have done really, really well in the social media space. Guys certainly like EJ Liddell has had opportunities. They're required to share part of the compliance aspect of this is they're required to share anything they do. Anything they do from an NIL space, Ohio State knows about. They have to share that with Ohio State, who then has to keep track of all the stuff. Ohio State is not required to share that specifically with us. So our guys don't have to share that with the staff. It's kept track of and logged by our compliance department. But I think, some of our guys are kind of still figuring it out. Some of our guys have been really, really aggressive in that area. It'll be interesting to see at the end of the year, kind of as we get a better feel for where guys are at, but it's not going away. It is certainly becoming more and more important as the year progresses for which is becoming evident in recruiting. Recruits are asking questions about it. It'll be important in retention of players, all of that stuff. So we're still figuring out some of the details, to be honest. What we do know, and this is something that we've been able to talk about in recruiting, is that you have one of the most visible and most powerful brands, an opportunity to align yourself with that. You have the largest living alumni base in the country, the most passionate fan base in the country. You're in an unbelievable city with no NBA, no NFL, no Major League Baseball team. There's a lot. If you kind of look at it, have an overview, there's a lot of potential here for that. We feel passionate about that. Yeah. Yes.
My son happens to be a lifelong friend of your wife's cousin, Chad.
Okay.
Just want to congratulate you on being such an overachiever.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It's the best recruit I've been able. And listen, I was able to recruit Darius Garland at Vanderbilt, and who's going to be an NBA All-Star, but she is by far the best, not even close. Yeah, no question. Yes, sir.
Attitude about making free throws. What do you do?
Yeah, we practice it a lot.
What's the difference between, Will Chamberlain could make a free throw if his legs depended on it, and he was supposed to be a great ball player. Was he not? Pretty good.
I do think it's interesting. I think if you look at, and this is we'll get to my own personal philosophy on shooting here a little bit. I don't believe there's one way to shoot. I don't believe that, because your hand size is different than my hand size. The flexion in my wrist could be different than yours. The length of your arms are different than mine. Shoulder flexibility. There's so many things that go into shooting. So my philosophy is part of my job when I'm looking to help guys develop shooting, I'm evaluating how can I limit the amount of movement, unnecessary movement, how can I put them according to their body type and their movement patterns? How can I help position them to be the most consistent they can be? And, and so I think that's part of it. Then the mentals, I'm a big believer in the mental side of shooting. Big believer in that. There's certainly a ton of work that goes in. There's like my brother, he wasn't just born a great shooter, right? Now, he had some ability. Like when I was busy being a manager and doing all the grunt work of my dad's practice, he was off on the side just chucking threes the whole time. So, so I guess you could say, as frustrating as it was for me, it certainly paid off for him. But I think the work on the mental side, and then being able to evaluate, because each guy's body moves differently. I think that those are kind of the three compartments that we view shooting. And so free throws, you should have as little bit of movement, as unnecessary movement as possible. That first and foremost. And then that's a huge free throws are a huge mental component too. And being able to have a consistent same routine every time, locking in, being able to block out everything that goes around, being able to slow your heart rate down in that situation. Like there's a lot that goes into it. But we practice pressure free throws, we practice swishing free throws, we practice free throws when we're tired, we practice free throws when we're fresh. We spend time on that every day, game days, practice, like we shoot free throws every day.
Excellent. Jake, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you very much for and most importantly, thank you for the support. I know there's a lot of Buckeye fans in here, and the support that we get, I can't fully put into words what it means for our program, what it means for us in recruiting, what it means for us on game day, what it means for us just financially. Like we're supported at such a high level. We don't take that for granted. We're thankful for that. Buckeye Nation is the absolute best. I've played in I coached in Rupp Arena in Kentucky. Like Buckeye Nation is the best. So we appreciate the support. Hopefully we can keep it rolling this year. But thank you. And if I can ever help you guys at all, Dave's got my information. Feel free if you got questions or thoughts.
Don't ask for thoughts.
Only after wins. Only after wins can you email me, not after losses. But no, thank you very much for letting me be here. Yes, sir.
What's the rules these days on autographed balls?
So we are. There's a lot of rules. We have to run everything we do that we kind of send out. We have to run through compliance, and typically they're trying to figure out, okay, if that autograph is going to go to a raffle, what is that? Who's benefiting from that, or whatever it may be. So there's some paperwork and some questions that have to be answered in those things, but we've certainly been able to in some circumstances put some things together if it can be helpful. But I've also had to say no a lot too, just because of the compliance aspect of it. That's that's a whole nother hour conversation. So but thank you guys very much.
All right. It's 1:07. We gotta get out of here, right? Perfect.
The daily is $10.
$10 in the daily.
And the last three numbers are 375. I knew it, Darnell. I knew it. I said him, and you went ahead of me. Yeah, you're right.
Thank you.
And for the big draw, which is around $36.
36.
But it's dinner someplace.
Yeah, McDonald's.
The last three numbers are 350.
350.
Yes.
There you go. You're right.
Who's your big chin?
Yes, thank you.
can't count them. Ace of clubs.
Oh.
Whoa. Close enough. All right. And with that, I think it's time for the four-way test. So if you please rise. If I can get it pulled up here. Buttons to push. Here we go. All right. Other things we think, say, and do. First. Second.
Third, will return.
Third.
Goodwill, better friendships.
And fourth.
All return.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. Have a great rest of your week. We are adjourned.
I stopped feeling those out.